One of the most annoying things in the entire game...
LJT, you good to talk?
Not right now. One of the most annoying things in the entire game that you have to deal with as a player is... Holy LJT. Off. One of the most annoying...
Just a courtesy call from LJT.
What do you want?
There's a bottleneck at the Manso...
I don't care. One of the most annoying things in the entire game is the amount of phone calls we get. And back in the day, the most annoying person was LJT.
Hey, pal, from LJT.
He used to phone us for every single little inconvenience every one of our biker businesses would ever have. But luckily, back in the summer of 2020, Rockstar Games turned every single one of these phone calls into a text message, which can still be annoying, but not nearly to the same extent. However, if you never played the game prior to this, you never had to experience the pain and annoyance that LJT was. Just like many of these other updates we'll be mentioning in the video that you might not have even known about if you didn't play the game as an OG. Now, we're not going to talk about the basic things like how Johnny on the Spot used to deliver your vehicle. These are small changes that you probably forgot even happened. Another update that had a much smaller impact on the player base came with the After Hours DLC, which made it possible to change your player action without using the interaction menu or pause menu. Prior to this update, you had to go into the interaction menu to change what action you wanted to perform, but now this can be changed simply by hitting the right and left bumpers while holding the thumbsticks. Heists have seen a lot of updates and changes throughout the years, both buffs and nerfs, and one of the most influential times for these heists was back in 2022 during the Criminal Enterprises DLC when the original heist received a 75% pay increase, as well as the Doomsday heist which received a 50% pay increase. And the setup costs for all the heists, excluding the Fleeca job, were adjusted to $25,000, making it a lot easier to start and replay these heists, though all the heists were made with an aligned cooldown time of 1 in-game day, with the exception of Cayo Perico, which changed the cooldown timer of 1 in-game day to replay the heist to 3 in-game days, meaning the time you'd have to wait between replaying the heist went from 48 minutes to 144 minutes. The baseball bat has been a weapon in the game since day one, but surprisingly it actually took until 2023 for the baseball bat to get added to ammunition. Prior to that you had to find one, pick one up, or find a job that a friend made that allowed you to get one. So for roughly 10 years, this weapon was considered fairly rare.
Had a pregnant lady buy a flamethrower from me earlier.
What? More recently, in June of 2024, Rockstar made it impossible to use the Up-n-Atomizer within most interiors of the game. So doing missions such as G's Stash House or the Recover Valuables security contract, you're no longer able to use the Up-n-Atomizer once you enter the building. And this is most apparent in the Recover Valuables security contract, where you can actually see the weapon get removed from your inventory when you enter the doorway. For a lot of people, especially griefers, the KD ratio within GTA 5 is a big part of their ego. But there was two major problems with KD ratios playing such a big part with griefers, and the first of which was continuously killing players in free mode. But in July of 2022, Rockstar made it where the KD ratio is no longer affected by any free mode play, meaning the only way to up your KD ratio was in death matches and other jobs. The other issue came with the option in the interaction menu to off yourself. Now, in recent years, this option has been moved exclusively to the pause menu, making it more difficult to do in a fast manner. But Rockstar also counteracted this griefing method in 2019 by adding a 5-minute cooldown to the option. Speaking of cooldown times, the personal vehicle cooldown was decreased from 5 minutes to 2 minutes back in 2018. Prior to this, you had to wait 5 minutes before calling the mechanic a second time to request a new vehicle, which did make car meets or changing vehicles a bit of a hassle and waiting period. Luckily, now with it only being 2 minutes, it's a lot quicker to call a new vehicle if you want to drive something else. Roughly 1 year later, in December of 2019, Rockstar realized one issue with the decreased cooldown timer, and that was that the oppressor could be recalled too quickly. In another way to counteract griefers, Rockstar increased the oppressor's cooldown back to 5 minutes, meaning that when the oppressor Mark II got destroyed, it would take you longer to call it back again. Now, unless you're someone who owns hundreds and hundreds of vehicles, basically owning everything in the game, you probably barely even pay attention to the property limit anymore. And over the years, the property limit has been increased numerous times. For example, back in 2015, you were only able to purchase 4 properties, meaning you could only have 4 garages or apartments combined. Then, 5 years later, in 2020, they doubled that up to 8 in the Los Santos Summer Special DLC. Nowadays, you can own over 10 properties, as it was increased from 8 to 10 total properties in 2022. Now, if you are a newer player, you've probably thought that muscle cars have always been able to wheelie when taking off from a standstill, but that isn't the case, and was only added in December of 2018. Prior to this, muscle cars would take off like any other vehicle in the entire game. Another very minor update that was added with the last DLC in December of 2024 was the change that once you are customizing a car in Los Santos Customs or any other mod shop, you are no longer on the radar. Meaning that if you are customizing cars in LSC, a griefer can't know that you're there to come shut down the shop on you. Sure, they could watch you drive in there and presume that you're in there, but at least it makes it a little bit harder once you're already there. For a few years, there was a rare business battle that could spawn southeast of the map. This was the aircraft carrier business battle, which was actually disabled with the San Andreas Mercenaries DLC because it added a mission where the USS Lexington would have to spawn in, and the two missions had a high chance of spawning at the same time, which would have completely broken the game and interfered with each other. I spent a long time looking for that business battle before realizing it had disappeared, trying to get footage of the aircraft carrier, which is why you're looking at not good footage of the aircraft carrier. Just 2.5 years ago, during the Los Santos Drug Wars DLC, Rockstar made our phones a lot more accessible by allowing us to customize our phone contacts and hiding those people who we don't call very often, allowing us to streamline our contacts list in our phone for the people who we only call the most frequently. Here you can see a side-by-side comparison of how difficult it was to scroll and find who you wanted to call prior to this being changed. On August 11th of 2020, Rockstar also added the option to return your personal vehicle to storage within the interaction menu, making it quick and easy to return your vehicle so you could call a new one. Prior to that, many players will recall leaving their vehicle and sprinting down the road, or hopping in a pedestrian's vehicle and driving a block away just so you could call a new vehicle.
I'll bring it to you.
When the game first came out in 2013, there was a lot of things locked behind rank requirements, and that included the heavier body armor that you could purchase with an ammunition. As of summer 2023, these rank requirements for body armor were removed, meaning anyone could purchase heavy armor, medium armor, or light armor whenever they pleased. Another rank requirement that was removed with the Bottom Dollar Bounties DLC was the rank requirement for purchasing properties such as apartments and garages, which yes, did have rank requirements, but as of mid last year, that is no longer the case. Now the next two updates are definitely ones that you never noticed because nobody uses bicycles in the game. Bicycles used to be a difficult thing to use because you'd have to go to the garage that was storing the bicycle, remove it from said garage, and then ride it where you had to go. But following the Los Santos Drug Wars DLC in December of 2022, bicycles could then be requested via the mechanic, allowing you to call them wherever you are around the map. Roughly 6 months later, with the following San Andreas Mercenaries DLC, bikes were automatically insured by Moore's Mutual and returned to the garage automatically after being destroyed, meaning you don't even have to call Moore's Mutual, and you no longer have to purchase a new bicycle when it gets destroyed. Also during the Los Santos Drug Wars DLC, Rockstar reduced the time it takes upon purchasing a new vehicle for it to be delivered to your garage. Before, this used to take about twice as long, but now it arrives much quicker, meaning you can get to customizing and driving it sooner rather than later. I also realized while customizing this new Granger 3600 LX that when you add the armor plating, it actually removes the grille and some other trims, making them completely invisible, and this is just so broken. Just 1 year prior, during the Contract DLC, the safe capacity within the arcade and nightclub were increased, meaning that instead of only holding $150,000, the nightclub could hold $250,000, allowing you to visit the nightclub less often to empty the safe. Our last two updates came with the Criminal Enterprises DLC in 2022, and the first might seem like something small, but they turned on the ability to jog within the casino, music locker, nightclubs, and some other properties. Again, this might not seem like much, but walking through the casino to get to the wheel, or walking through your nightclub to enter the safe, took forever. So the fact that you can actually kind of run inside made this a lot easier. And finally, one of the most influential updates that newer players never had to experience the pain of, the ability to resupply and sell cargo in solo lobbies, which only became a thing in the summer of 2022. Prior to that, you had to do these businesses in public sessions, making them riskier and more dangerous for you as a seller. This also introduced the high demand bonus, which was an incentive to continue selling in public lobbies. Personally, private lobbies have been a lifesaver for me. No more constantly appearing off the radar and checking the map to see if someone's coming after you. So how many of these changes did you notice, and which one do you think is the most influential to you? Let me know in the comments below, and in the meantime, check out this video, because YouTube thinks you'll like it.